Hello Legitimates and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to do a full wrap tumbler. This was the first time I ever tried it and it worked out wicked. So let's go. First we need to open our XCS program, which is xTool Creative Space, and then we're going to pick our design. I'm using this one for my friend because it has a heliconia in it and she loves that flower. So you can see right now when I've selected it, it's got all these little like mini bits. What we need to do is turn that into one file. So we're going to click this button right here. And so that way it's now seamless and it hasn't got all those other little bits. This is important to do. Do not skip this step. I'm going to set it to tumbler. So my settings are going to be 90% power and 400 speed. You will have to redo it later though. So you don't have to do it yet, but I'm just letting you know. So we're going to go to the rotary attachment, and I always use the chuck. So the chuck is the one that grabs onto it. So what we're going to do is measure to see what sizing we need, and I measured around it is 316 millimeters. I work in millimeters because it's easier, and then you want to turn it sideways because that's the way the cup goes in. And we are going to, do I do it yet? No. All right, so we also need to make sure that it's the right height. This is the incorrect height, but if we just type this number in, it stretches it and makes it weird, and we don't want that. So we're going to change that back. We're going to get, so the height is technically the around part because it's on its side. So the height needs to be the total perimeter of your thing. So then I'm going to take a rectangle here and we're going to do it to the actual parameters, and if we click that little button there it will unlock it so that we can change it to the right size rectangle. I measure mine, it is 238 millimeters tall, so that's what your width needs to be. You remember these are going to be opposite. And so then we're just going to line this up. Now you can move it, your rectangle, anywhere you want. I'm going to line it up with the bottom because the heliconia is at the bottom part of the design. But you can use any part of the design. You just need to line these up. So see here, you can do the top bit, the bottom bit, the middle bit, whatever makes you happy. I'm going to do the bottom, and then we're going to click and drag to select all of it, which I'm going to do now. There we go. And then we're going to click this subtract button here, and it will take away everything outside of the rectangle, making it the perfect size for what we need. You will have to readjust the settings again because once you've altered it, I don't know why, but it went away. So I'm going to line it up with the top crosshair there because that is where I'm going to line up my machine. That is important to get a perfect lineup. So that's where it's going to be. And now we need to go back to the settings. And I've got that saved. So I've saved it as tumbler so that I can just quickly get them. But you can also just have a book to the side if that's more your thing. And then we're going to frame it. So now what we need to do is prepare your tumbler. So the first thing we're going to do is take a screwdriver and take off the handle. If you leave the handle on, you can't do a full wrap. It's not going to work. So you just wiggle it off. And then you've got these two little bits that the handle connected to. What we're going to do is use some pliers. I'm actually going to use side cutters, and we're just going to bend them over so that it's not as tall, so that it won't hit your laser head, because that's the last thing we want. And I'm trying to do this gently so I don't wreck them, but we are just going to bend them down so that they're less tall, and that will make sure that we don't hit them later, like that. I'm just gently holding the side cutters. I was going to push it all the way flat, and then I thought I might scratch it. So we just put them down as best we can like that, and then we're going to put it in the machine. So I've put in the chuck thing, and I've got these set to, it's currently at the smallest, and I'm going to use the key or your finger to just make it taller. Now I understand that I've put my hand in a terrible position. For that I do apologize. But we'll get there. So you can see, I can already see when I swivel it, it's crooked. It's not sitting flat. You just need to adjust it until it is sitting dead flat. Now I can do this by eye, but you can also use the little bubble marker to make sure that it is level. it just takes a while. So you make it looser and tighter, and then I swivel it. See how that's not now lifting at the other end? So that's pretty even right there. So that's where we want that. So now we're going to, I'm just going to shut that bit there. We are going to bring it over, and I'm going to work out the height. Now I'm looking on the screen to see where the little crosshatch part is, because it's relevant to where it sits. I did try and do my line up at this side bit here, but I took it out. It doesn't work. It actually tipped and gave us like a full meltdown. So I'm just doing it on the tallest part. So it means the tall part will be perfect, and then the end is a little bit off. I'm also showing you here how I measured around. So I just took a tape measure and slipped it around, and this is also the height. So your tape measure is very, very important. You should always keep one handy. You can also use calipers if you want to do it that way, but my calipers wouldn't have done the length either way. So now this is how we go around. So we're just going to bring it around, and I'm going to bring it up near the top to make sure that it's not going to be crooked, and line it up with that pink part up there. So that's how I got my 316 millimeters. But you want to try and make sure that it's not on an angle or anything, because it means it will be slightly out, which is also what we don't want. So I have moved the whole chuck roller thing over, and then this is me framing it here. So what I did was I want the join to be as least noticeable as possible. So I've basically put it behind the handle. So you can see there, I start at those two little bits that we bent over, and then I make sure that everything is straight and even before I start lasering. Now this design took 1 hour and 29 minutes, which is a long time, but it is a full wrap. If you've got a more powerful laser, you can obviously go faster. I know people that have the 40 watt always run it at the 600 millimeters per second. So it would make it quicker if you had a more powerful one. But if you've got a fine, intricate, detailed thing, the 20 watt is better for that. So you just pick whatever is better suited to your needs. I'm using a dry erase magic eraser thing here, and just some warm water to clean off all the residue. So you can see on the skinny part at the bottom, it made it a little bit more burnt color, but it did still engrave it. It's just not as shiny as the top, and that's just because of the height difference. So if that bothered you, you could do it so that you laser the top part and then the bottom part. It's entirely up to you, but I think it's still come out absolutely amazing. So now I'm drying it off with a tea towel, and you can see there. See how it's just not as shiny at the bottom, but it did still mark it. So the design is still really good. For my first ever one, I think this is amazing. The only way I can see to combat this problem is you laser that top bit, and then you do a separate design for the bottom. So now we're just going to put the handle back on by straightening those bits out. I'm using the same things as I used to squish it down. And then we're just going to slot the handle back on. The biggest part goes to the bottom, just if you didn't know that or pay attention at the start. I've got a second blue one over there to make sure that I did it correctly. And these have to be very straight. So I kind of just bent them back mostly straight, and it didn't work. So you need them very, very straight, and then it just slots on, and we put our screws back in. I'm just using a normal screwdriver. I'm not sure if you could use an electric one. I'm sure you could if you had like one of those bendy heads, but it doesn't take long with a normal screwdriver anyway. This is just a basic Phillips head. And then we take the second one, pop it in. So this is a gift for my friend. I know she's going to love it. Her favorite obsessional color is pink, and she's recently obsessed with gardening. So that's why I chose this design. You can obviously make your own overlapping seamless designs. They're called seamless designs if you want to go and look them up yourself. And I did this off camera. Sorry about that. It was just being a bit stubborn. Pop the lid back on, and it is ready to go. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.